went to work there and did 35 auctions a year.
Wow.
And was all over the country doing auctions, almost every weekend it felt like, doing these sales and trying to boost eBay's classic car online presence with a brick and mortar situation. So it was funny. The first week I was there was an auction in Scottsdale in January, and the senior vice president of eBay Motors told me to make sure and wine and dine all the classic car guys there in Scottsdale, and I said great. And so I did that and thought I did a pretty good job of it. And at the end of the month, I got a phone call from him in February saying, "Thought I told you to wine and dine." And I said, "I did." And he said, "Well, make it better next time." So, so we really took care of our clients then. So, and did that for a number of years, and then decided that would like to be in the business of promoting and selling cars online on our own, and did that out of our basement for a number of years, and did really well. On a consignment basis, we realized that there was a lot of people out there in the world who have classic cars who don't want to deal with selling them themselves. It's sometimes can be a process and sometimes can not be so much fun, and so we decided to do that. And over the years we've built that business and done classic car auctions and done the consignment business, and got an offer from a gentleman in Morgantown who had bought the old outlet mall there. And long story short, here we are in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. I'm originally from East Tennessee, so I feel like I'm a little bit in the witness protection code. But
I sense the Tennessee accent.
A little bit, yeah.
I got that.
If you give me some Jack Daniels, it'll come out even more. So.
Mike, can you hook us up? We can make that happen. So you told me you worked with Boyd Coddington as well. That's
yeah, we did. Boyd had a show, American Hot Rod, on
right.
Velocity or Speed or whatever I can't remember what the channel was called back then. And a dear friend of ours from Texas, Scotty Gray, was a good customer of Boyd's, and Scotty came to me, and we were at an auction in Fort Lauderdale, and said, "Let's do an auction, and let's do it with Boyd." And of course we did, and it, mixed success. It was one of those things that probably the timing wasn't great for what we wanted to do, and in hindsight, we probably would have been better off kind of starting out small and growing and not trying to be a big dog right out of the gate. But some great learning experience. I was mic'd up for a whole weekend on Boyd's show, and I think they had 65 hours of footage of me, and they used me for 9 seconds. That was
right. They ran out of bleeps.
Yeah, they ran out of bleeps, and I learned quickly that on television they can make you anything they want to make you. You can be the nicest guy in the world, or you can be not the nicest guy in the world.
It all comes down to editing, doesn't it?
Editing is king on that. So we did that, and that was a great experience, and spent a lot of time in Southern California, which I had done in the past, and that's a great car culture. Sure. Although I don't know that it's any better of a car culture than where we sit right now. This is an amazing part of the world, and an amazing amount of cars.
It's true, and I think people in Southern California and other parts of the country would be surprised at the level of enthusiasm, which, by the way, is why I thought a car radio show would be well received in this area. There's a ton. So we were saying earlier that it's a seasonal thing here. We are, when the weather gets good, man, we get our cars out, and you start seeing stuff on the road right away, and there's tons of car shows in this area. There's just tons of car enthusiasts. They're just put away right now. They're just we just put them up. So it's a little bit different. I don't know what's better. I don't know if it's great to have that burst of energy in the spring, or like in Southern California, we have cruise nights, 12 months a year. You can take your car out any time, and I think maybe you can become a little complacent. So I think there's something really special about the East Coast and other areas of temperate weather, where you have this, just like you come out of hibernation, really, it's energy.
I like the cycles of the season anyway. So I lived in South Florida, and it's in Southern California too, and they're both the same.
With humidity.
You can't tell what time of the year it is by the temperature. So
that's right.
Yeah, it's an amazing. I've seen collections around here that would, that are as good as any collection I've seen anywhere, and they're in a barn behind a house in the middle of nowhere.
100%.
And they're everywhere around here.
That's right. I keep waiting to stumble onto those couple of those barn finds as well. I know they're still out there, and we talked about it a little bit last week about widows and other family members who don't know what to do with cars, and maybe Classic Auto Mall is an answer for that as well. We'll talk a little bit about that. So tell me again about the facility. how it came to be. How big is the facility, and how did you get your business there?
Well, it's huge, I guess would be. It's 336,000 square feet, almost 8 acres under roof.
Wow.
On 40 acres, right on the turnpike, as you mentioned earlier. And I got a call from a guy who owns a collection of 400 barn finds. And
Wait, just a guy who owns 400 barn finds.
Yeah, just a regular guy.
Just your typical barn finder.
Yeah, exactly. A real estate guy. And they're anywhere from 1904 to the 1970s. And he had bought this outlet mall, and he said, "Hey, I want to make a business out of this. Have you got an idea for me? I've heard that you know about classic cars." And I said, "Sure." And so I sent him a proposal, and he looked it over. And about 3 weeks later, he called me back, and he said, "Hey, come talk to me." And so I came to the area. I was living in Lock Haven, doing an auction up in that part of the world. And I came here and I met him, and I thought, this is crazy. Who buys an outlet mall and turns it into a business? And this is not going to work, and I don't know. And I promised my wife Kathy that if we moved from Lock Haven, we would move closer back to Kansas City here. And so she said, "Well, is where we're moving, potentially moving, would it be closer to Kansas City?" And I said, "Well, there's direct flights from Philadelphia International Airport to Kansas City, so in a sense, yes." But anyway,
that's like when I told my wife, "We've got to get a Buick Grand National because we're getting a family. We need a family car." And Buick Regal is well known for family car.
Absolutely,
that's the last of that.
That is the familiest car you could get, right? So we ended up partnering with him back in the latter part of 17, and we really started the business January 1st, taking consignments. And that was our business, was to take consignments, but also to have this barn find collection on display of the 400 cars that are spanning the era of...
Where were they before?
All over.
Really?
In warehouses and buildings and, just wherever there was an empty slot. And so this had been on the market, this building had been on the market for 6 years. And so he bought it, said to me, "Let's do the business." Hey, I want the guy who wrote the business plan to come do it. So here I came, and gypsies that we are, since the kids are all grown, we said, okay. So we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary 10 or 11 days ago, and we did the numbers, and we consigned 485 cars in our first year, sold 172.
Wow.
We have 330 cars in inventory on consignment and another 400 barn finds, so we're over 700 cars in the building. Wow. And it's working. It seems to be doing what it's supposed to do.
It's incredible. Did you have second thoughts about Morgantown?
Sure. I mean, yeah. We thought our first year, first of all, we'd get a couple hundred cars. Our original plan to do this, Kathy and my wife and I, our original plan was to do this in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where there's a huge tourism market, about 12 million people a year. But I don't know that we would have found all the cars. And ultimately, the cars are the most important part of this equation. We are open to the public, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Wednesdays from 4 to 8, and Saturdays from 8 to noon. But we never charge an admission fee to come in and see the collection of cars for sale and the display. And that was always our big thing, is that we wanted everybody to enjoy it, and we didn't want a $5 admission to be a hindrance to somebody to come in and see the collection. So that's what we decided to do.
That is a bonus.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this being the Disneyland for car guys. And it just so happens that Morgantown is on the way to Carlisle, and Carlisle certainly draws a lot of traffic from Philadelphia and other points east. And it's really a good location. It's a great location. It just happens to be right off the turnpike. You can't miss it. So I did a little research, and the Willow Grove Mall has 1.2 million square feet, but it has 3 stories.
Right.
So if you imagine the first floor of the Willow Grove Mall, or any mall, Plymouth Meeting, whatever, and just imagine all the racks, all the clothes, all the stuff out of the stores, and it's nothing but cars, man. It is like a dream, and it's free admission, which is just incredible. Tell me about these barn finds. A lot of them are unrestored trucks, a lot of trucks. Still got the dirt on them. Tell me about that.
Sure. Well, as Dr. Fred Simeone, who owns a great museum down in Philly, says, dirt is not patina. So patina is the worn, rusty fender that's not rusted through. The dirt needs to go away, but we still have a few that have some dirt on them. And some, I used to make fun of museums that had tires that were flat until I had 1,800 tires to deal with. So we get a few flat tires from time. And the problem is you need tubes in a lot lot of these tires
Yeah.
to replace. But anyway, the barn find collection and the truck room in particular is amazing because trucks don't last. And what I mean by that is that they get used. I mean, they get used until they're no longer useful.
Sure.
And to have the trucks that we have, a 1909 Doris, which is a really rare truck, or a 1923 Weidman Chevrolet Camper, that's all in that barn find condition. But all 400 cars, when they were brought into the building, the one thing that we said that had to happen is they have to run. So they ran then. Now, some of these have been there for a year and a half, so they may need a little bit of help, coaxing, if you will, to run again. But that was our goal, and the collection is amazing. It's a real walk down memory lane. And what's interesting about our collection of cars is a lot of museums have Duesenbergs and Ferraris and that kind of thing. Well, I didn't grow up with Duesenbergs and Ferraris, and that wasn't my thing. I grew up with the normal car, and that's what people love about our museum is that they see what their grandfather had, what their neighbor had, what the cool kid down the street had. It's kind of the everyman's museum.
It is. It's an eclectic mix, and all you got to do, and we're going to talk about it a little later, is just go to the cars for sale page or the cars sold page, and you'll see the mix, and we're going to talk a little bit about those specific things. We talked last week with Top Dead Center, and that camper came up again. I mean, that thing is amazing. I mean, that's like the Beverly Hillbillies camper. Like if they didn't strike it rich, that's where they'd live. It's like a mobile home. It's like a log cabin on wheels. It's really fascinating. Well, we're going to take a little break now and come back and talk more about the Classic Auto Mall with Stewart. And we'll be right back after these messages on CarSmarts Radio. We're back with Stewart Howden of Classic Auto Mall. One of the problems with guys who, car guys and car people is space. That's always a big issue. And I always thought, man, if there was a place where I could easily store my car and not worry about it, and where it was secure and warm and there weren't rodents running around, I'd probably buy more cars. And I think that stops a lot of people from increasing their collection if they don't have the means to increase their space as well. So you do a lot of storage there as well.
We do. We have a separate company called Space Mall that stores cars of all types, and campers and RVs and boats and the whole 9 yards, but mostly cars and mostly special interest classic type cars, because in major metropolitan areas, I don't know what a parking space in downtown Philly is in a garage, but I gotta imagine it's pretty expensive.
Right. I'm sure it is.
And so we do that, and then of course they morph into becoming consigners at Classic Auto Mall because they find another car that they like, and now they don't have 2 spaces, so now they got to get rid of one to the other, and so on and so forth. But it's funny when we consign cars, and a husband and wife will bring a car into to our place to consign it to sell it. The wife will say something along the lines of, well, now I can park my XYZ in the garage. And that car's never going back to that garage. She has laid claim to the garage, and that's no more going to be a workshop / whatever. So we have space to store cars, and we have space if you want to sell your car as well.
I'd love to see the husband's face when she says that.
Yeah.
I do reserve space in my garage for my wife's car, but if I had the space, I'd certainly increase it. And you were telling me you also had a Trans Am. Tell me about that.
Oh man, back in the day,
yeah.
I had the 1976 455 4-speed Trans Am.
Nice.
And I had it painted charcoal gray, and I had American Racing Vector mags on it. And I had the Alpine cassette that easily transported the cassette into it didn't just slam it in, it took it from your hands. And
gently.
The ADS speakers with the little mounts in the back, and I thought I was really cool. And all my friends thought I was the biggest redneck on the planet. And all those guys to this day now want to collect Trans Am.
You better believe it.
Because the value of those things is going crazy.
Saw one go for about $30K on Meekum yesterday.
Yeah, and mine didn't. I removed the hood, Eagle. I took that off, and it was just a stealth-like with the charcoal gray. A lot of fun in that car, and a lot of fond memories in that car.
I tell you, it's the things we do to our car. Are there similar facilities to Classic Auto Mall elsewhere in the States?
Not that I'm aware of. There are companies that have multi-locations, 15, 20 locations that have more cars than we do. I don't know that there's anybody that has a single-use facility dedicated to classic cars as big as ours, or with the number of cars for sale, with 350 plus on sale, as well as we're getting ready to add about 100 of our barn finds for sale. There's some duplicate stuff and we're dare I say, we're running out of room. But we're forecasting that we're going to run out of room. And so we're thinking that we're going to get to 1,000, 1,200 cars before maybe by the end of this year. I don't want to be too optimistic, but we're certainly on the right path for that. In October, we took in 88 new consignments.
Is that right?
In 1 month, yeah, which is... It's a lot to keep up with, and you can't. When we first started, you could say, "Hey, go grab the red Mustang."
Mm-hmm.
You got to be careful to say that now because there might be 5 red Mustangs, and you don't want to get a call from a guy in Southern California and say you shipped me the wrong car.
So there's 2 questions I have. One is, who is selling cars and why? And 2, where are your buyers from? Where it's not just local. You said Southern California. So with the eclectic mix of stuff, there are people looking at your website and, first of all, kudos to the photographer.
Thank you.
Is that you?
No. That's I'm pretty good. He's really good.
Beautiful stuff. Great. I mean, if you're going to sell a car, go on Classic Auto Mall and look at the pictures. This is the way you need to do it. Upside, downside, interior, trunk, engine bay, and look, they're not all perfect.
No, and we show the good, bad, and indifferent, and we tell the consigners, look, that's our philosophy, and we treat each car the same. If it's a $5,000 car or a $500,000 car,
right.
It gets the same treatment, the same photographs, same description, same undercarriage pictures, so on. So
exactly. So who's selling cars these days?
You hit the nail on the head just a little while ago. You were talking about it, and I guess you all had discussed this last week about widows and a lot of guys who've been collecting cars who have 10 or 15 cars. Historically, right now at this time in 2019, there's a lot of guys who went. Used to be guys had 1 car or 2 cars in their garage. Then guys started getting 8 or 10 or 15 or 20 cars in a garage and a barn out back. All those guys are getting to the age where they're thinking about, man, I need to really start thinking about thinning the herd. And a lot of them have bought cars at auction before. And listen, I've been in the auction business. I love the classic car auction business. It's exciting. But a lot of guys don't have the stomach for it. They just really don't want to stand there while 15 of their cars run across the block and in 3 minutes have to make a decision on something you've owned for 25 or 30 years. And so they're saying, because we asked ourselves, we took in 485 consignments this year. Where were those cars going last year? Well, they weren't going anywhere. They were in a garage, and a guy was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so having another outlet for them, we tell people, look, just take a few of them to the auction. These make sense to go to the auction. Bring the rest of them to us, and we'll take everything from your $5,000 car to your $500,000 car. And so a lot of that, it's a lot of widows, it's collections that are, estates and that kind of thing, or a guy who just doesn't want to sell his own car, is ready for something new, and so he says, hey, this is a great opportunity. There's cars like mine that are here. These guys seem to know what they're doing, so I'm going to bring my car to them. Now, conversely, on the buyer's side, most of the cars that we consign are fairly local. We get cars from all over the world, all over the United States, but mostly local. But our buyers are worldwide. I always jokingly say that more people know about us in Denmark than they do in Malvern, because it's hard to advertise to your local audience to make sure that everybody within 20 miles of you knows who you are, is way more expensive than to advertise worldwide these cars on Hemmings and ClassicCars.com and eBay and that type of thing. So our buyers are, we sold a car the other day to Osaka, Japan, Chile in South America, Denmark, as I mentioned, Germany, Dubai, and then of course, Texas, and it depends on the time of year. A guy says, well, I got a convertible, I'm not going to bring it to you till summer. I said, well, you're going to miss a market. There's Arizona and California and all those guys, and it's nothing to ship a car across country anymore. Not like the old days where it was expensive. So.
And do you also advertise in other places, not just your website?
Oh yeah, we do. We've got about 60 websites worldwide that we market our cars on, and then we advertise in Sports Car Market magazine, which is kind of the hobbyist for collector cars and collector car auctions, who read that magazine, and Hemmings, which is still the Bible of the hobby. Sure. It's still, your fingers are dirty after you read it. The ink print comes off just like a newspaper, and so be it. But it's still a viable advertising market, which is funny because of the internet. You'd think that kind of thing would go away, but it hasn't seemed to.
Well, there's something nice about tactile, touching paper.
Sure.
People still read the newspaper, even though it's reduced and
people still go to Carlisle and Hershey and drag a bumper across the lawn that you could buy online, and we talked about that earlier. That you can go online and it's more expensive online, but it's nice to go to a swap meet because you're going to find something you didn't know you wanted.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Plus, you can pick up tools for about $2 too.
Screwdriver, it's $2. So.
It's nice. And listen, there's no no shortage of people at Carlisle Swap Meet, and I'm sure Automania is going to be packed. It's wintertime, and we're all jonesing for some car stuff. So, and there's something nice about getting out there, touching the stuff, looking for stuff, and then, like you said, finding something you didn't know you needed.
Right.
And we always end up spending a little more than we had anticipated. You could certainly buy car parts online, get them shipped, but there's no fun in that.
No, and you don't run into fellow enthusiasts. I mean,
Right.
part of this hobby is the camaraderie, and that's what we try to build at Classic Auto Mall, is that we see guys that come in week after week after week, and they come in to see what's new. They're excited to see what's new because they know it's a constantly evolving machine, living organism,
It
if
is.
you will. And so they come in, and then they become part of our family. And then some of them just keep hanging around until I hire them. And so we had one of our guys who just came in like every Wednesday for our open house cruise in, and finally he's like, I said, okay, we'll hire you because you're already coming in, you're helping out, so
Nice.
we'll bring you on board.
That's great. How big is your staff?
We've got, let's see, we've got 3 CarSmarts, we've got about 15 people on staff.
Nice.
So, and we're, adding to that, so if there's any car enthusiasts who are looking for employment, we certainly would like to talk to you.
Wow.
We always caution people that even though you're into cars and it's old cars and it's cool, it's still a job, and there's still a guy telling you what to do, and there's still all of that. But I think it's better than pallets. So
Yeah, right. Beats digging ditches, right?
Yeah.
A little break. I want to remind you that if you're interested in a job or you just want more information on Classic Auto Mall, go to www.classicautomall.com. Again, they're one of our sponsors, and you can go to our website and learn some more, carsmartsradio.com. If you want to talk to Stewart, you can call 888-728-9941. We got about 20 minutes left in the show, and you are welcome to call in and ask questions that I haven't asked, but I got a lot more to talk about right after these messages on CarSmarts Radio. All right, we're back with CarSmarts Radio and Stewart Howden, president of Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown. If you haven't been there, you don't even have to be a car guy. If you just want to see some cool stuff. In fact, I think this is the future of the car collector world. I think that as millennials and other generations don't appreciate brass era up to 50s, 60s, that what's going to happen to all these cars? Well, I think they're going to go into a museum type atmosphere, and there are some great car museums locally and around the country, but I think we need bigger places like this to store all those cars that people can come out and see them as relics, unfortunately, but I think that's where the trend is going. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, it's interesting. You get people who come in who aren't car people. A wife might come in, and not to pigeonhole women that they don't like cars, but it's more male-dominated hobby, obviously, than that. But it's funny when they come in and when they leave and they say, oh my, I've seen more cars that I grew up with than I ever even realized, and how amazing is this? And I saw the truck that my grandfather had, and I saw the car that we got married in, and just so many memories that it's a history lesson.
Yes.
It really is, and cars are such an integral part of who we are, and I think that's the fear that everybody has with these new types of cars that are coming along, self-driving cars and electric cars, and we're going to lose our hobby, we're going to lose this because of that. It's not going to be because of that. It's going to be because of people not really participating in the old car hobby. Are we being landed on?
I don't know. This is like a military operation out here. Oh, there's a helipad out back.
That's my ride.
Wow, business is really good.
We've really been booming, and
Morgantown's the middle of nowhere. You gotta get to places.
Yeah, it's hard to get places. You can't get anywhere from there. So, but anyway, we try to encourage the kids, and we like it when we see kids. We love it when the family walks in, and the 2 sons, or the son and the daughter, or the 2 daughters come in, and they're interested in what's going on. And the other thing we love is when they walk through the door, and the kids immediately put their hands behind their back. We really like that, because now Dad has told them,
nice.
Don't you touch, don't you,
Right.
these are to look but not to touch. And so we enjoy the turning them on to the hobby.
Right,
if you
right,
will.
right.
And as an alternative, I mean, there's just, don't get me started. It's a shop class at schools, woodworking class. That should still be part of what we do, because it's important to know these things. I'll never forget how I failed as a father when my son called me when he was 16 years old on the side of the road and needed to learn how to change a tire at 3 o'clock in the morning with semis going past him. And I'm thinking, I'm a car guy. How did I miss that with him?
I'm with you on that, and we had the same experience. I think I relayed it in my first show.
Right.
yeah, my heart sunk. And then and then another father got all the kids together and said, "Here's how you change a flat tire."
Right.
Like, that's my gig, man.
That was me. I was supposed to teach them how to do that,
right?
You know? But I didn't. So, but you know, it is what it is. But it's important to know how to, you know, rescue yourself and not be beholden to somebody. It's not everything is not on your cell phone.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Well, exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Although everything really is.
AAA is just a call away, right?
Just a call away.
You should know some basic stuff, and we've talked about winter driving and defensive driving, and the Porsche Club, Reisentoter does a great defensive class that we're going to talk about and cover a little more later in the season, where your kid can go learn how to drive defensively and in different conditions. And I think it's important, and it's just not taught anymore.
No.
We are going to have Kevin McLemore on, who is a shop teacher, and he's going to talk all about state of it.
Well, and if you look at what the driver's test is nowadays, I mean, granted, they want you to understand what drinking and driving and how important that is. But to know that you'll lose your license for 6 months, is that more important than to know how to handle your car in a skid? I don't know. I mean, I think they're both equally as important. And I think that driver's ed was a joke for everybody back in high school.
Right. But it worked. Though.
It did work. We learned how to control the car better.
I love those old films where you sit down in the simulator and
exactly.
And what's great about it is that people can come by for free and see the cars, maybe not touch them. Yeah, keep your hands behind your back, but you can see the cars that you're interested in buying in a safe environment. Whereas Craigslist or even eBay, you're putting your car out there, and it's a little bit risky because you don't know who's who. And
exactly. I mean, part of the problem is that if you want to sell a car, and do you want somebody coming to your house at 9 o'clock at night? No. Do you want to take a check from a stranger that you don't know, or a cashier's check that you don't know it's good? Do I release the car? Do I give them the title? What do I do? This is too nerve-wracking.
Right.
And the way we look at it and approach it is that for the most part, when we sell a car for somebody, we probably are getting them as much or more money in their pocket had they sold the car on their own. And our fee is just an add-on for the additional marketing that we do, because we take a great set of pictures, and we have a photo booth, and we have a lift, and we have a professional rider, and we have all of that if you went out on your own and tried to market your car like we do, you'd spend $2,500 and no guarantee that it's going to sell.
And lots of time.
And lots of time and lots of aggravation to take all that the headache out of the process. Let's get your car sold. Let's get maximum amount of money so you can either buy another car like Pete did, or you can put it away, or buy something for your son, whatever it is you want to do. So we want to take that part out of it.
Right. Plus, in the meantime, your car is part of basically a museum collection. So people see it, and whether they're interested in buying it or not, it's getting some eyeballs on it. Is there any wiggle room, or you pretty much decide on a price? I imagine in consignment it's a little tighter than just straight negotiation.
Sure. I mean, there's always a little bit of wiggle room. We have the opportunity to talk to the buyer, number one, and determine where they're comfortable at a price point, and then we talk to the seller and try to put something together. And we don't always put deals together, and we don't always make our full commission. Normally it's a 10% commission is what we charge. Or a lot of times a guy will just say, look, get me X amount of dollars in my pocket, and whatever you can negotiate beyond that. The nice thing about that net in their pocket is that I can negotiate without having to call them, find them. Oh, they're in Florida for the week. Right. They can't get a hold of them. I got a buyer here who's chomping at the bit. I know if a guy's told me he needs X amount of dollars, I know I can work off of that number, even if I'm maybe only make $500. But I know I can put the deal together, and so that's an important part of it. And we don't charge any upfront fees to consign your car either. So you bring us your car, and there's no charge whatsoever. We do all the photo shoot, everything. We do a 90-day agreement. After 90 days, if the car hadn't sold, you can come pick it up, and we'll thank you for the opportunity. Or we can both agree to a reasonable reduction in what you wanted in your pocket or the selling price, and we'll do another 90 days. Or the third option is you can keep it at that price, and we charge you $125 a month. But that's only happened one time. So because everybody wants to hit a moonshot at first, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, we can negotiate from there. So
it's an amazing thing. I wanted to remind everybody you're listening to Classic Auto Mall on CarSmarts Radio. I'm Steve Saphier, and I also want to remind you that we're on social media, and so is Classic Auto Mall, by the way. I think you have Instagram.
Facebook is what we are doing really well right now. We're learning the others as we go.
Me too.
We're a little, our generation didn't grow up with that, so we planned our parties the old-fashioned way, at high school and the middle of the afternoon at the gym class, and then we all figured out how to get to the same place at the same time, and it seemed to work really well. So, but we're doing well on Facebook, and our posts are going great. My wife does the Facebook posting, and she does a pretty amazing job for somebody who's not a techie and didn't grow up around it. And our last post a couple weeks ago got 3,500 likes and
nice.
Like 650 shares, which they tell me that's good. So
I think that's good. I'll ask my 19-year-old.
yeah, he'll probably ridicule that number,
right.
but that's all right.
That's not viral, apparently.
Apparently not. I don't know what that means, but
I did a video. We have a YouTube channel as well, CarSmarts Radio TV, and I did a video called "How Car Guys Think."
Right.
And it's just about, we drive around and we see a car for sale on the side of the road. No matter what it is, I'm stopping.
Absolutely.
You know, and I thought, this is going to go viral.
Yeah.
And my son's like, how's your viral video going? I got 32 views after 6 weeks.
My favorite thing I saw on Facebook a couple of weeks ago is the guy comes up to the other guy, and they're both in suits and older in life, and he goes, I know we went to high school together. I can't remember your name, but you drove the 69 Nova with a 396 in it. Remembered the car, remembered everything about the car, couldn't remember the guy's name.
Right, right.
I love that.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
So Facebook, Instagram, for us, Twitter, and YouTube. We just got on Twitter this week. I'm very excited about that. And, you know, it's a good way to mingle with other people around. Lingerfelder's on there. And,
Sure.
and all kind, I mean, every manufacturer is on there as well.
Absolutely. We made the mistake, though, one time we gear our Facebook feed to like the 4-state area around us, and we'll expand that as we grow.
Sure.
We did one worldwide one time. It got a lot of response, but it was a huge mistake. It was like overwhelming. We got shut down by Facebook. They told us that, you know, you're getting too many likes or something going on.
You get spam.
Yeah,
you know.
You get spam and all those things. So we kind of learned our lesson there, that more is not always better.
I'm getting a lot of offers from people who, you know, it's a compliment, but I don't think you're legitimate.
Right.
And I don't think they're PG rated.
You're right, exactly.
Which is sad, actually, because we just want to get the word out there. I don't want to be bombarded with spam, but it happens, and that's the nature of the internet, as it were. So you work a lot with area clubs. We talked about just the number of clubs that are in our area. There's a lot of them. And what do you do for clubs? How do you partner with them?
Well, we have obviously all the space in the world, the 40 acres, so it seems like all the space in the world. And so when a car club wants to do a meet or a weekly, monthly meeting or an annual meeting or a banquet or whatever, we offer them the space for free. All we ask is that you return it in the same condition that you found it, so trash and that kind of thing.
No burnouts.
No, well, yeah. I didn't say that. I should say that. My insurance agent is probably listening, and he is. I'm sorry, but
no indoor burnouts.
No indoor burnouts. So I can make my golf cart almost do a burnout in there, though.
That's right. You tool around in a golf cart.
Yeah, but not because I'm lazy, although I am a little bit lazy, but it's because
it's a big place.
It's a big place. One day I checked my phone before we had a golf cart, and I'd walked 17,000 steps, and that's not a real good use of your time.
You need a Fitbit.
I do. I have it on my iPhone thing, whatever it is. I'm just teasing. I'm a little more techie than
You're
that.
right.
But anyway,
you are.
Back to the clubs. So any of that, they can have their club meet or event, or just if they want to show up with 20 of their members, and we'll give them a tram ride through the facility. They just need to reach out to Kathy at our office there, 610-901-3804, and she'll help schedule that. Hopefully we'll have the available time that they're looking for.
And you have a hotel nearby.
We have a walk-through access to a 188-room Holiday Inn with a swimming pool in the center and a lounge and a restaurant and 188 newly renovated rooms. And like I said, walk-through access, so if you want to come and look at a car or you want to have an event and bring people in from out of town, then we've got a great place for them to stay as well, too. So.
That is just fantastic. It sounds like just the perfect recipe. I attended the Chariots of Fire car show. It was well attended, great show. You got live music and some really cool cars on the outside as well.
Sure.
What cars sell fastest, or what cars sell best, if there is such a thing? I mean, I was on the sold page, and there's really no pattern. I mean, Porsches are hot right now.
Yep.
But there's really I didn't see any pattern. Is there something that is going to sell pretty soon?
SL Mercedes, because, and think about what an SL Mercedes epitomizes to people. It's, the car that if you were not successful and you looked at and you saw the successful guy back in the 70s or 80s, they drove a 450 SL Mercedes. And so that still holds true to this day. But I'll really shock you with the second one. Model A Fords.
Is that right?
And we keep thinking that that market's going to go away, that the people that like Model A Fords are just going to, they're a dying breed, unfortunately. But they keep selling well because I think they're a nostalgic thing. They're easy to drive. They're easy. Model T is difficult to drive. A Model A is really easy to drive, really easy to work on. So both of those are really, and then of course the Camaros and Firebirds and all the usual, but really those two stand out as two that really do well.
Interesting. And you can help people with shipping and insurance and things like that as well.
Inspections, anything like that. But you know, it's like there's people that I'm sure that are listening and in the area who have cars in the garage or in the in the warehouse, and they don't know what to do with them. And you know, we try to be fair with everybody. We're very transparent in what we do. We when we sell a car, we tell good, bad, and indifferent. You know, our best compliment when we sell a car to somebody long distance is the car was a little bit nicer than you described. A lot nicer than you described. We left money on the table, and not as nice as you described meant we didn't tell them the truth. And so that's our barometer. When we get to that point, that's our standard that we get to. We love that, and we sell a lot of cars sight unseen, and so we have to be their eyes and ears as well. So.
Right. And again, the photographs are just perfect.
And when you go to that effort, you give the potential buyer a little bit more ease of mind that they're going to buy something sight unseen from a long distance. But there are inspection companies. AAG, American Appraisal Group, is amazing, and they do inspections of cars almost, gosh, every day we have one of those guys in there. And sometimes the cars are, exactly what the guy was looking for, and sometimes the guy's wishing that the cars, they tend to overlook some parts of it until somebody puts it in black and white to them, And I always tell people, if I told you exactly what was wrong with every single car, every blemish, everything, you might say, that's not the car for me. And if you saw it in person, you might say, you know what, that's not so bad. It sounds worse sometimes when it's written.
Right.
But AAG and insurance and transportation and actually collector car financing too.
Incredible. So here's just a couple of examples that I pulled off of your website last night. A 1986 Mercury Cougar, like your mom drove, with 21,000 original miles on it.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Low mileage is king on these later model 80s and 90s cars. Like you were talking about Grand Nationals and Trans Ams and that kind of thing. A low mileage 77 Cadillac that's tan with cloth interior with roll-up windows, but it's got 5,000 original miles, is very desirable to collectors.
Yep.
And same with that Mercury Cougar. It's just a vanilla car, but it's really cool because it's got 21,000. It's all original. It still smells like new.
I guarantee you'd have the only one at the show. I mean, it's that low mileage anyway. So
we like to say there's rare and then there's desirable. Just because they only build a few of them doesn't mean anybody really cares anymore. I mean, a guy called me the other day. He says, I got a 95 Mustang, and he said it's one of 5 painted in chartreuse. Well, there might be a reason for that.
A 1933 Ford pickup, just to give you an example of some of the variety. A 1980 Porsche 928, cool car, one of my dream cars. 65 Comet, 62 Studebaker GT Hawk. How about an 85 Lincoln Towncar Limousine with less than 12,000 miles on it?
Crazy. I don't know what the market is for that or where somebody's going to come that's going to buy that, but somebody will, because as we say, there is a behind for every seat. It may take 10 years to find it, though.
A 1980 GT Bradley, Volkswagen powered, the original kit car, I think. Fiberglass body. Yeah. That thing's cool, and you don't see them in good condition anymore. Nobody's bought it, but we sure get a lot of activity on it. It's got a Scirocco Volkswagen engine in it, and it's those things were very futuristic back in the day. And lots of different race cars and things like that. Well, this has been an absolute blast. Stewart, we're going to have you back. I've got lots of other questions and more questions, and I really congratulate you on the success of the place. Obviously, if you're a car guy, get out there. It's a great wintertime activity. Go out there and just cruise the place. www.classicautomall.com. Check us out at carsmartsradio.com. You can email me there for more information on any aspect of the show. If you have guests or ideas, please give me a ring. Give me an email, I should say. Ring is an old term from the 70s. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on CarSmarts Radio. Next week is going to be another exciting show right here on 610 ESPN. Thanks for joining us, everybody.